Alrighty, my name's Andrew Wright. I'm the office monkey at the Chebucto Community Net. Now, I don't know if any of you guys know about us or not. We're the oldest ISP on the eastern coast. We've been here for 21 years. The idea is we're here to help everybody have access to the tools of communication. We've been operating a public-run, low-cost, high-speed network since 2013. Now, we have no budget for advertising. We're a very poor nonprofit charity. So for the last 21 years, we basically existed on word of mouth with social media, our sole means of informing the public. So for the last decade, our fortunes have been gradually declining. Dial-up internet isn't as popular as it once was, and high-speed internet is extremely expensive to put in. So the digital divide. I want to talk a little bit about the basic problem we're facing, our experiences in overcoming it, and lessons that we've learned. So the biggest part of the digital divide is money. If you start charging anybody more than $10 a month, they can't afford it. They're low income. There's all sorts of ways you can be low income, and age-related skills. Now, this is information from our own users. In other words, people who have been on the internet. And it's a straightforward, the older you are, the more help you need getting on the internet using things. Now, the other part of the digital divide is geographic. So here's Nova Scotia. Red is places with internet speeds under 5 megabits a second. Green, places with internet speeds more than 5 megabits a second. Now you can see like the internet follows the rail tracks into Halifax, and there's this band of high speed that comes with it. And of course the Valley Community Fiber Project, which has brought high speed out this way. A lot of the province, though, is underserved.
What's white? Nothing?
Nothing. So this is a look at seniors, who are basically the hardest hit by the digital divide. And if you look at Canada between these 2 years, more seniors use the internet. This is internet use from any location. So Nova Scotia, you see that we remain static. However, in Halifax, we once were doing really good, and then all of a sudden, we're not so much anymore. I put this one straight down to the federal funding for the CAP program, Community Access Program. Federal funding declined. CAP sites used to get about $2,300 each, which they could use for stuff. They now are existing straight on volunteer efforts only, and I think they were doing really good. Now they don't have the resources. The budget, by the way, of Halifax Region CAP is $15,000 a year, 1.5. So it's 4 cents a resident of HRM. If we were to restore the business where CAP sites get the $2,300 a year, it would go up to 20 cents a resident. I think we can afford that. Now this is the worst of the worst. Internet use from any location, low-income seniors. Now, I don't know about your crowd, but this is practically every senior I know. So the Canadian average is still like 1 in 4, roughly. Went up a few points. Now, here in Nova Scotia, it went up a lot. That's a good effort, but it's still below the national average from 2 years ago, or from 35 years ago, rather. The figures there. I would have put in figures for Halifax, but for some strange reason, Statistics Canada doesn't have reliable figures for Halifax. Not sure what happened there. So, this is the situation we were looking at. News media weren't interested in us. We couldn't get a story in the paper for anything. We used to joke about what we would have to do to get a newspaper story. The idea of the Chronicle Herald ever covering us for anything, not happening. Our resources were dropping, like memberships and donations, which are our lifeblood. We're not a grant-fed organization. There used to be dozens of dial-ups around town. Now there's just us and Bell. So again, every message we're seeing there is saying, this is bad. And we applied for a grant for our pet project, which is bringing high speed to low-income seniors. We almost got rejected. We applied for a whole bunch of those, I don't know, 5, 6, and it's almost like a big stack of paperwork. And last time we applied, the people who actually got the grant, like we were saying, we're going to bring high speed to seniors. The ones who got it are, we're going to bring Monopoly games to their common rooms. I was like, okay, that's nice and all, but, you know. So we're starting to wonder, like, should we be bothering? Like, we're questioning our very existence. So our users are telling us we need you. Our users are telling us that, you know, life is tough, and that if they didn't have our access, they wouldn't have any access. The world is telling us that internet access is fundamental. So we're stuck in this, you know, okay, there's this huge demand, this vacuum for, you know, this thing that we can deliver, but we don't have any of the resources or any of the attention we need to do that. So, as you know, social media happened. So Twitter, Facebook, Google+, RSS news feeds, all of a sudden these tools were available to us. So for the big differences are, and you guys probably already know, Twitter is best for getting the word out quickly. If you want something to be known quickly, Twitter's your best friend. Twitter is like the nervous system of the planet these days. Facebook and Google+ are better suited for longer communications. This is a lesson I'm still learning myself. Like, it's better not to string out a bunch of tweets. It's better to, like, post a link to something. Like, fewer people will follow a link, but still you can have the space to explain yourself. The other big difference is, if your organization is using Twitter, the Twitter person has to have a fair degree of autonomy. So they've got to be able to be aware of what's going on, be intimately familiar with your organization, be able to respond in your organization's name quickly. There's generally not a whole lot of time to, like, govern by committee. Now, if your organization's concentrating on Facebook and Google+, you can think it out more. You can have stuff pre-approved. So what worked for us with Twitter was the first thing we did. We associated ourselves with a newsworthy cause with parallel interests to ours. In our case, it was the Occupy Nova Scotia movement. Now, this wasn't, you know, what's the word, cold-blooded maneuver or anything. We, you know, agreed with what they were saying. They're absolutely right. Social inequality is probably the most corrosive force in work in our society today. It's a shame it fizzled out here, but anyway, it got us the attention of reporters. All of a sudden, some people like Tim Busquets know who I am. We went around to a lot of physical gatherings. Every time there was a major tweet up or something, we were always showing up there. You know, me, a couple of board members, you know, chatting up people, and all of a sudden, a bunch of the social media types around town knew who we were. And then that's when the politicians started noticing us. This last election, we had candidates from all the parties asked to meet with members of our board. Like, this never happened before. So we typically use Facebook and Google+ for longer posts. We generally put the same content on both. Now, other organizations can use, or can find other uses for it, especially the networking components. But we found like the Twitter seems to work best for us. RSS news feeds, we use one for telling people where they can get you know, security updates and such. It's a big issue in the whole ISP thing with people getting conned into, you know, downloading bogus copies of software. So we keep a nice resource always updating where, you know, they can get you know, a reliable place to get the stuff. So other organizations can use an RSS news feed for anything that's regularly updated. You know, you're doing bulletins, meetings at times, you know, things you want them to know. Like, you can do this for, you know, your organization as well. And the other thing we did, of course, was this Manners Project build. We did something nobody's ever done before. We brought nonprofit, high-speed internet, $10 a month, $2.40 a week, 7 megabits a second download to seniors in low-income manors, which is public housing run by the province. So on Twitter, we documented every step of the way, you know, as we built this thing. And all of a sudden, not only did we get the Chronicle Herald story, cover on a weekday. Like, this is wet dream stuff for us. We never even imagined like that. So the lessons that we've learned from Twitter. Honesty is the only policy. If you try any sort of subterfuge, delaying tactic, trying to change the subject. People stomp all over your butt. All you have to do is follow a few people to see some bad examples where that's happened in the past. Twitter magnifies content. A short Twitter message has a lot of punch, sometimes unintentional. So you've always got to be very careful of your phrasing, because the wrong words, all of a sudden, you've just cheesed off some group someplace. And your timeline becomes a flame war. Another big thing we've learned, personalize it. The Twitter feeds that do the best are the ones where it looks like there's a real person back there. And they have their good days, they have their bad days, their experiences, but it's a human being, and people relate more to that than they do to posts for organizations that are just static. We are meeting at 10 p.m. today or whatever. Now, this is the lesson that we had the most fun with, and this is the telling tales out of school part. You can really cheese off politicians easy without trying. In our case, it was politician X came up to us at a gathering and said, we really should meet sometime. And we're like, sure. Here's my email. Give us send me an email and we'll arrange a time. So of course, we do that right away. And then like a week or two goes by, and nothing's happening, no response, no anything. So I put what I thought was a fairly innocent tweet saying, "Hi, we sent you an email. You gonna respond to it sometime?" And all of a sudden it's like, my inbox is ding, 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 with messages from this guy. Oh yes, we're gonna meet right away. Could show up next morning or whatever. So the three of us from the board of directors of Chebucto go to this guy's office, and there we are, half an hour session. We're sitting there. Aide comes in with a clipboard. Politician comes in. So for a half-hour session, the first 15 minutes of us are this guy lacing us about how this is not the way things done, and we made it look bad, and this is, lots of bad things will happen if we keep up this sort of nasty attitude. We're all sort of sitting there. Then it's like, oh yes, we should do something real soon. Three of us go downstairs and we're just laughing at, what the hell was that? But anyway, it is ridiculously easy to offend. You got to watch yourself there. Politicians tend to have long memories too. Keep the content coming. You've got to post regularly. If your Twitter feed is the Sahara Desert, then people are going to stop looking in on it. You attract followers by always having interesting content, and that's a battle. You're going to have to get it from a number of sources as well as your own experiences. So best times to get audiences are, of course, prime time in the morning, the afternoon, the evening. Now, you can put pictures, you can put audio files, you can put video onto Twitter, but the pictures are the ones that most people are going to see. You're going to, not so many people are going to click through for videos or audio. So if you have some way of illustrating your point, and I'll show you a really good example of that later on, pictures will really make the thing fly. Interacting with people, follow Fridays, retweets, trimming content, all ways to get yourself known with other people and just basically increase your loop of people. So, some simple mechanics. Some of you guys probably know all these already, but just in case, like when you're replying to somebody, if you want the response to show up in your timeline, put a dot in front of the username, and that way it'll be in your timeline. Other people will be able to see your responses. Watch out for flooding. I'm guilty of that. It's been pointed out that I'll suddenly have an enthusiastic, wow, brainstorm, 10 tweets in the space of an hour. And next thing you know, I say, hey, I just lost 15 followers. Clarity of meaning. Choose your words carefully. This is zen to writing a good tweet. It's not fitting the thing into the 140 characters. It's fitting the thing into as few characters as possible. Hashtags. There's nothing worse than a tweet with a million hashtags in it, like a two-word content. Hashtags can't use special characters in them. You probably know all that already. Special characters, icons, and emojis don't always show up in everybody's device. So watch out for the critical meaning of your tweet dependent upon people seeing this particular little emoji, and a bunch of people see like a question mark or something. Breaking up tweets. I'm still trying to figure out how you do this on a mobile device. On PC, Shift Enter, and you can break the lines. But anyway, you can use that for building lists. Twitter cards. Now, if you run any sort of website content, you can basically put a Twitter card as part of that web page. So when somebody posts a link to it, they'll see this content pop up. It's on the Twitter developer site. You have to validate it. You can't just do it whatever. You got to run it through them first. But you can include a description, photograph. You can do like a large photograph, which would have like a big image come up underneath. And those would just be automatically included with whoever tweeted the link to your page. So the Twitter code itself is pretty straightforward. It goes in the head part of your page. It's just a bunch of meta tags and you fill in the content. Now, the one thing I learned the hard way is your image, wherever you have that hosted, it has to be a really fast server. If your server cannot give that image to Twitter, inside of 2 seconds, Twitter just doesn't bother displaying it. So you have to have that living somewhere fast. So the idea of following. Now, following isn't just a case of being courteous to people, they follow you, you follow them. Following is an incredible source of intelligence. You can start by following people and groups in your field. All of a sudden, you're aware of everything that's going on around you. Follow the same sort of groups in other countries, you suddenly learn, oh, there's all these different ways of doing things that we're doing, and hey, those ones work better, let's try them. Looking for people to follow. If they're good enough to retweet, they've probably got good content. Look for people to follow and posts that you like. So basically, the more you're following, the more you've got this news feed always pumping by in your own Twitter. Like the more you're suddenly, plugged into everything going on, you can communicate, hook up with, etc. Look out for the echo chamber effect, the Fox News effect. Everybody's like in this little bubble and they're all agreeing with each other. Lots of people are really clever and don't agree with you, and they may be right sometimes. So it's always good to pepper up your followers, but not everybody that you'd be sort of expected to follow. You're looking for information from anywhere, and you never know where the useful stuff might come from. World news, something breaking, like you all know that Twitter is the place to be. Plane crashes is usually somebody saying, hey, just off this plane, and there's the photo, and so when something happens, generally there's like wrong stories, right stories, and afterwards you know who was what. So your followers list is self-correcting there. You can always adjust it, so you've got the best news quickest. Following people who follow you, my rule of thumb with that is if they've got interesting content, I'll check out their timeline. Look at 5 or 6 posts there. All right, yeah, that's interesting. So you don't necessarily have to follow everybody. So metrics of success. All of a sudden, people don't give us grants. Now they do. We last year got $68,000 in grants from CIRA, the Canadian Internet Registry Authority, and from ACOR Nova Scotia, the Halifax Research Network. Our tweets get printed out and passed around in federal and provincial government offices. This fall we had the shock for our lives when the vice chair of the CRTC said, hi, I'm in town, can I drop around? Again, this sort of stuff never happened before. He tells us that, yeah, our stuff gets printed out, passed around the CRTC offices. We know they get passed around Industry Canada offices. The Department of Economic and Rural Development, I always forget their thing now. Anyway, province reads our stuff. Our follower count is, not dramatic, but it's a steady rise. And it's quality followers. It's people who are actually interested in what we're doing. A lot of reporters, a lot of politicians, all very good. It means all of a sudden we've got a way of, getting the news out. So this is what success looks like in our case. In 2013, we established this high-speed radio link, 5 gigahertz frequency, 7 watts, to these 2 seniors' manors, Joe Howe and McKean Manor in South End, Halifax. It costs about $20,000 a building for the hardware to do it. We're throwing in all the labor for free. This is this year's project, which is where I'm going to be tomorrow morning. And that's the Tucker Building, radio link to Gordon B. Eisner Manor, Ahern Manor, and Sunrise Manor in North End. So that's the $68,000 flying the year to do that. And, 3D view, got into the street. A Hearn is right next to North Branch Library. Gordon B.I. is this big skyscraper next to the Armory. And sunrise is just up from a Hearn there. Now, if you look at this image, it's a really, nice image. I posted it. Nobody really paid much attention to it. So then I did a version with the radio link drawn in. And last time I looked, it had like 17 retweets. And it was all the major politicians, hi Jennifer, and it had retweeted this message, and something like 40,000 people saw it. So, the learn from information is, whoops, no one pays attention to that one. This one, everybody pays attention to. Okay, got that one down. So, here's a couple of people. That's Ron and Gloria. They've been together 51 years. They're living in the manor. They don't have a lot of money. Their health issues got expenses going for them. It takes any spare change they have. And they're using our internet. These are the people we're helping. Typically people in the manors, they've got incomes around $500 a month. They got to pay like around $300 of that to rent to the manors. They're, 100 and whatever is your food and happy money for the rest of the month. But yeah, we're giving these people, rather than if you want internet, it is like, the majority of your free income. Is now, internet is like the price of going out for a cup of coffee. So, Sierra, Acorn, the people who give us money, Dalhousie, the people who give us home and support. We're very grateful to all of these people. They help us to do what we want to do. So, if you're interested in following, it's Chebucto.net, and we'll try to keep it going. So, any questions about any of this? Hi?
I have a question. In terms of like teaching seniors or other low-income access, are you involved in that, or do you know any volunteer groups that do that?
Yeah, well, Metro Housing itself has got stuff where they have students go around to the manors, and they do some of that. We want to do it, but we've had issues with working on the mechanics side of it. But we've got several people in our organization interested in going to the manors and teaching.
So that would only be accessible to people in the Metro Housing group? The reason I ask is because I do it in a volunteer group.
Oh, okay. What's your group?
I volunteer for Dartmouth Learning Network.
Okay.
And 2 nights a week we have a computer. It's not a drop-in, you have to register, but you come every week and we'll teach you whatever you want to teach in terms of computers. So typically it's people, they've never touched email. We'll teach them to do email or what Google searches versus bad, how to get a Facebook and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I've never heard of any other group that does it. And we're always trying to drum up business or connect with other people and see how they do it and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, well, with us it's been mostly, more talk and theory than actual implementation. But the main plan is, once we've got the build stuff under our belt and have things running, is we were thinking monthly meetings. And, most of the manors, but not all of them have common rooms.
Yeah.
So you can, do it right there sort of thing. Yeah, right, that's sort of something we want to work on. I know the library's got courses going for people. And other places like Parker Street Food Bank, they've got, they're now at CAP site, and they do courses there.
Yeah, the library is not the problem with the library. The library, it's like regimented classes versus other, but I haven't heard of Parker Street.
Anybody else got any questions? Hi.
Is Shaw doing any dial-up work around here?
Shaw? No, Shaw doesn't have anything around here.
Okay.
It's all either Eastlink or Alliant.
Okay.
Our thing with using radio waves is because it's just too hard to try to get on the poles. Half the poles in Halifax are owned by the power company, half by the phone company. You have to pay rent for each pole. When I say power company, I actually think it's Bangor Electric who owns it. They mirror shuffle around their branches.
I've also heard some discussion about the light poles. Is it LED lighting? I think they might be doing some wireless related stuff in the poles now. I think.
City's got 800 megahertz gear, sending signals from their stuff back, but not consumer stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when the seniors have access, what platforms are they using? Are they using Twitter, or are they using Facebook, or just
The thing that took us by surprise was how much video they were going for. We were looking at how much usage. We figured it'd be fairly small, a bit of web browsing or whatever. But no, they're honking back the video with both fists. especially people from other countries, because they can like log into like high definition TV channels like from their own homeland sort of thing. And there's a lot of that going on, which we never thought of. But no, they don't. They're not engaging on Twitter so much. A few of them are starting to now. They realize it's a way of getting a hold of us. But the majority of them are either web browsing, email, Skype with family, using it for telephone services, using it for video. Anybody else got anything? Hi.
Hi. Have you had any feedback from the seniors who are using this service about how it's affected their quality of life?
Not so much because, well, basically the odds are with these folks, like 3/4 of them don't use the internet, and that's in the manners that we've got the service around now, where they're mostly seniors. That's kind of like most of them don't use the internet. So like the bunch that are the smaller portion. Their feedback has been mostly positive. There is an expectation of perfection that we hadn't quite counted on. They tend to get like shirty fast if the network goes down or something. But you know, we do everything we can. We've got a pretty good uptime all around. But it's funny because before we put the high speed in, I actually phoned around to the universities and said, "Hi, would you guys be interested in researching this? Like you'd have this perfect snapshot of sort of before and after." And you know, some of them said we were interested, but the timing wasn't right, and we never heard back. So okay, but yeah, I'd love to see something like that. For the most part, the people that are on our internet are people who've used internet before. There's 2 or 3 of them never used it before, or at least never had their own personal home account before. And you know, they're over the sky about it. You know, all of a sudden they can do all this stuff at 3 in the morning. They feel like it or whatever. Yeah.
So part of the subtext that I'm kind of reading in, maybe this is wrong, but it seems that, you know, the CAP's kind of demise seems to overall, the overall picture is that we're seeing lower
yeah, I
use.
think there's a lot of hands-on training going on in campsites.
And it also seems that you're kind of, it seems that you're advancing kind of to the forefront more as that policy. You seem to be one of the groups that are doing this.
CAP and us started up at the same time, and it was pretty much the same people. Yeah. The difference there is, like we were always concentrated on home access, while CAP is access in public buildings. Mm-hmm. Now they both have their place. Yeah. You know, in fact, I'm on the board of CAP and Chebucto for that matter. You know. But the thing with the public access is the buildings have restricted hours. You're there 9 to 5. Now, if you're somebody who's working 2 jobs or whatever, which you know, not insignificant number of low-income people are, you might not be able to get there at that sort of time.
Right.
So we, you know, like I said, both have their places. Now, the public places, the campsites, they have more of an opportunity for teaching than we do. You know, we give the access and then sort of like have fun. You know, they're more the here's how you click. You know, here's how you right click. You know, we do a little of that when somebody comes in the office, but not like classes as such. So the thing with the CAP underfunding is, like I said, the campsites used to get $2,300 a year, and that's not a fortune. That's not enough for you to like hire a full-time staffer or anything. Yeah. But it is enough for you to like, you know, have some materials, do whatever, you know. The fact that the federal government got out of it hurt the Maritimes more than any other part of the country because while campsites in other parts of the country may not have been as necessary here, they most definitely are. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, it wouldn't take much to give them like the funding they used to have. You know, less than $100 grand, and all of a sudden everybody's got the resources again. You know, telling people, you know, day in, day out, you got to do this for free. You know, eventually they go away.
Yeah.
So, hi. This is probably a dumb question in light of that, but with the federal government moving so much online, the services, they still don't get the gap in terms of people being able to access what they put online. Is there any discussion around that?
Well, they get that there's a gap. I mean, because like the geography one, you saw the problems in Nova Scotia with that. Like, well, if you're up north, that's even worse than that. Your internet's, you know, satellite based if you can get it at all. You know, so right now their concentration is we want to get sort of coverage out to the more outlying regions. So that's what they're concentrating on now, mostly the north. You know, because they are incredibly underserved.
So do you see any leadership at all in government on this? So it's
Not
more-
anytime soon, not from the feds.
Okay.
I'd like to think the province might have a twinge of conscience at some point and throw a little money in. Especially as, it's in their best interest, so, the longer haul. The more people you get online and working, the more, health benefits go up, quality of life goes up, they can communicate more with family. There's all sorts of things that can suddenly improve.
One of the things that I know, just kind of from experience, is that the CAP model worked very, very well here, but not so much in the rest of Canada.
There are other funders.
So from a federal perspective, that would be, are we just gonna keep a whole big program going for one province? That's a difficult.
Well, I mean, for CAP, I'd say, CAP's work's cut out for them in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, New Brunswick,
Yeah.
PEI, all the maritime provinces, the access rates go down with income.
Yeah.
Seniors, if you're a rich senior in Nova Scotia, 75% of you, use the internet. If you're a poor senior, 25% do. So even amongst the rich, that's still not that great a percentage overall.
Mm-hmm.
That's the knowledge gap in effect there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we basically found anybody born before 1975. If they didn't have computers at work that they were exposed to, their skills are pretty much non-existent.
It's interesting because it's almost considered an essential service now.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first things we discovered at Joe Howe Manor when we were talking with them. Is the local councillor, Wade Mason, was having a meeting literally a block away from them, and they didn't even know it was there because it was all posted on the internet. The last time he had one, we actually had Joe Howe over there. All of a sudden, there's awareness. So it's a small thing, but getting more people in is the important thing. Getting more people involved, and people living in the manors, it's almost like you're. I hate to use words like you're in jail or something, but you're cut off from society. And as soon as they got internet and they're talking with family again, that gets a lot better.
Yeah, especially when you think of, Nova Scotia and the history that a lot of people move away to, to work.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, and if
the
you're
kids
still
live
here,
west, yeah.
All of a sudden, not having access to the internet is not actually having access to your kids.
Or the kids are in India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Andrew.
I spent most of my life in very rural Nova Scotia. Just moved to Halifax 9 months ago. And the difference I had high speed for 6 or 7 years before I moved here. But the difference in high speed in Muscatavit and high speed in here, high speed in Muscatavit is your lowest speed in Halifax. The bottom line high speed rate in the city of Halifax was my, oh my God, this is so fast rate in Muscatavit.
Well, that's just it. Even though we got dial-up access, and that's access for the poorest of the poor kind of thing who don't, live in the manors. A lot of websites have changed the way they work. Yeah. You click on a Facebook page, that's drawing content from 40 other servers. If you're on a dial-up connection, that means you're sitting there go make yourself dinner while your Facebook page loads. And literally, it takes 10 to 15 minutes for a Facebook page load on dial-up.
Yeah. 7 years on dial-up doing a community college degree. I know a few things about patience.
I feel for it. That's rough.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the dial-up, it's, we still have a text interface running, and there's still 20 people a day using that. That's no pictures, no nothing, just use a terminal interface like it's 1993 again. And, that's part of the thing, our internet. Our internet's $125 a year, $10 a month, $240 a week if you break it down. And there's people who can't afford that. When we were running the service in Joe Howe and McKean, we had something like 70 people a day using the free when it was in its test mode. And when we brought in the $125 a year, which is not that much money, but it's still a lot to cough up at one go, we found that about a dozen or so of those people never did go for the membership. They couldn't afford it. So the $10 a month even is too high for some people. But should we be addressing that? Yeah, the current policy is sort of ignored, it'll go away, which, if you wait long enough, I suppose that'll work. But I don't know, with the manors, I think of them as sort of a ticking time bomb, because the younger generation is getting older, and they're going into those manors, and they have expectations. And trying to say, okay, great, you've got 13 basic cable channels, and your choice of Alliant or Reliant. You know, that's not really going to fly well with them. So my whole thing is I've been trying to convince people that we should be putting some money in. Like I said, parts, $20,000 for a banner, top-notch gear, access point, thing looks the size of a light fixture, 500 users can use it simultaneously. It can support 30 simultaneous voice over IP phone calls. You know, this is, again, sort of like, sort of looking for a stopgap. Like, it'll be good for 20 years-ish, but it'll start being a bit creaky by the end of that. But the real answer is, fiber optic cable and invest in that. But not going to happen in my lifetime in this city, I don't think.
Just one more thing, I think Cisco is doing a lot of stuff here with regards to like smart cities. So you might want to kind of reach into them or figure out that partnership. Because I think, maybe there's an opportunity to work together.
No, we've tried in the past. I mean, there's no harm in asking again, though.
Have you any comparisons at all between Nova Scotia and the rest of Canada or the U.S.? I mean, in terms of access?
Yeah, we're in Western Canada. It's much better out west. It's not so good here. The funny thing is, in 1994, we were the world leaders. We were the ones who actually had more going than anybody else. We were the city in the world using the internet the most with Halifax in 1994. After that, the politicians sort of said, well, the phone company's got got hold of that, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. It existed in a set of stasis ever since. Internet rates in the last 20 years have not dropped. In town, you're still paying about the same amount. You've got faster options for connectivity if you've got lots of bucks, but fine. If you've got lots of bucks, you can do all sorts of other things too. Yeah, I know, Halifax is really strange. If we were in Ottawa right now, we could probably be offering a high-speed service over DSL from like one of the dozen or so DSL services running in the city. In Halifax, there's not that choice.
What's the reason? I mean, poor people
Anywhere
anywhere
else?
else?
No, they block, they knock it out, so, It's a dual market too often. They block everything else out of the market.
You mean Alliance?
A lot to need them. They just made it like really, really expensive to try and get a toehold in the marketplace.
Well, what about Ottawa? I don't imagine they have a whole lot other properties, do they?
Yeah, the marketplace is completely different. They've got a community net in Ottawa, National Free Net, and they offer high speed over DSL. Now the thing is, like their internet is the same price as everybody else's, around $30 a month. We're the only place anywhere that's got internet at the price we've got it at, which is basically us saying like this is what internet when you're not making a profit on it looks like. Yeah.
Sorry, I might have missed it. Do you guys just do Halifax, or because I'm thinking we're the oldest population in Canada, Nova Scotia, and the rural areas really.
Well, you can access our services from anywhere in the world if you've got internet. If you're talking about the internet we provide, it's a local Halifax dial-up number, or if you're lucky enough to live in one of the manors that we serve, the public housing manors, Joe Howe, McKean, and in about 3 months, Gordon P. Eisner, Sunrise, and Hearn. But there's literally 5 buildings in Halifax. You're there or possibly across the street from one of them. And I don't know, I guess that pretty much wraps it up. If anybody's got any other questions?
How you doing? Good, thanks.
I got a letter from you with this essay about Jablon.
There's one more session for lunch. Yes. Well, I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Cost much to bring internet in
Yeah, this is.
some manner.
How's it going?
That's the equipment. Access was $500. Wireless is $1,200. Putting wireless in the building.
Really?
You know,
Oh, yeah, that's what I have too.
Oh, yeah.
well, the other thing too is like the rate, the signals won't go all that far. So you're only good for the next unit.
Do you need my help in information with that bubble before that you're?
Well, we're still waiting on access from Mel House.
See where the orange is? That's one.
Yeah, they're the ones being the real pain. So we're doing the building on the manor side of things while we're hoping that they can get their crap together. But no, we actually, when we were talking about the keys, we had keys like the next day kind of thing. Because we had been going like from June until then with it.
Okay.
But, yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, yeah, if you want to, look in on us or whatever, we're usually going to be 1 to 3 manners most mornings.
Okay.
I can,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, one thing we thought of doing is like, maybe doing a photo op with, running the cable through the new show up for that. All right. Yeah, that'll probably be in a couple of weeks when we get the cable phone station.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
I know that. I was just looking.
I don't know. I'll try.
Okay, there's the one I got off you. That's the text one.
This is like midnight last night. I never got any slides. The last one I got off you was, that one was like the essay thing.
Yeah, the slide was after that.
I'm having a vote.
Yeah, there it
I
is.
owed you one, Tara.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, and that's the last one I got.
I will collect.
So with that, I was like, okay, where's that gonna fit in? So
Yeah, no,
we moved you sent office.
yeah.
I never got it. Alrighty,